again. Welcome to all. We are going to be continuing where we left off yesterday. We're going to be taking a look at the MPC X. Let me turn it on. And today we're going to be doing chapter, I think 7 on drum layering. And if you have the MPC X Bible, it's actually chapter 6. Oh, that's wild. I never really saw that before. Okay. So yeah, we're going to be doing drum layering, chapter 6 in the MPC X Bible. If you have an MPC X, get it started. Load up my first project. It's in the tutorial files for the MPC X Bible if you have it downloaded. If not, just try and follow along with your MPC, and we'll do our best to all learn together. I'm just turning my... We're going to get into this. So alright, so we're going to spice up our basic drum kit with some very simple but highly effective drum layering techniques. What is drum layering? Drum layering is the skill of blending together two or more drum sounds to create a completely new sample. As a producer, it's your way of defining your own unique drum sound. Drum layering can be as basic as taking a snare and a clap and playing them simultaneously, or it can be a more complex procedure where you carefully bring together many different sounds and textures to build an intricate collage, which can be further tweaked, EQ'd, and processed. First, make sure you have the Shadow Kit program loaded into memory. This is the kit we've been using in the previous chapters. If it isn't, you can just load it from the chapter 6 folder. Remember, you can use the program browser filter to clean up the display. So, if you don't know where it is, it's in wherever you saved your MPC X Bible folders. Mine is there under my internal drive, titled as MPC X Bible, and then it's under tutorial files. And you'll see 006 drum layering. Open that, and you'll see it in there, the Shadow Kit. Alright, so once you've got that loaded up, we're gonna be back on main. To create our own custom drum layers, we'll need to delve into the inner workings of a humble drum program. Inside the chapter 6 folder, you'll find a subfolder called Layering Sounds. Okay, single tap this folder. Hold down Shift and hit the Load All button at the bottom right of the screen. This will load up a bunch of sounds that we'll use in this chapter for our drum layering experiments. With the existing Shadow Kit program selected in main, either go to the menu and hit the Program Edit button, hold down Menu and hit Pad 14, mine's actually on pad 12. I have mine differently, but I guess, or in the MPC X, press the dedicated program edit button, which is right there. Make sure global is selected at the bottom left of the screen. Program edit allows us to adjust various program parameters on each pad, which in turn can be used to change the way your assigned samples actually sound and behave when a pad is hit. To organize this mass of parameters, program edit is divided into several individual pages, which can be individually accessed via the touch buttons at the bottom of the screen. The default is the global page. However, initially we need to page samples. Hit pad A02, our snare, and press the samples button at the bottom of the screen. Utilizing sample layers. The samples page handles the sample layer information for the currently selected pad. What are sample layers? Well, up until now, you've just been assigning a single sample to a pad, but in a drum program, each pad is actually able to hold up to 4 samples simultaneously. When we assigned a sample to a pad in the previous chapter, we were actually assigning that sample to the default sample layer, layer 1. Layer 1 is simply the first pad layer, which on pad A02 shows the CP snare 1 sample already assigned from earlier. The samples page contains a lot more information beyond layers, such as the sample waveform, sample edit points, warping and stretching options, and much more. Most of which is beyond the scope of this today, but we'll be looking at all these later on. To assign a sample to the second layer, first single tap layer 2. To select the second layer, you just tap on the layer 2 right there. Then tap on the sample box to select it. Okay. Gotcha. And now turn the data wheel to scroll through all the sounds currently loaded into the project sample pool and choose the classic clap sample. Notice how the trash bin icon appears to the left of the sample name. This will just remove the sample from this layer, setting it back to none. It will not delete the actual sample from your project, so it's still available for assigning whenever it's needed. Hit pad A02 to hear our new layered sample. That was pretty easy. However, currently this drum layer doesn't really sound like a snare anymore, as the clap layer is much louder than the snare layer. To lower the volume of a layer, we need to access samples page 2. To do this, simply tap on the samples button again, so the second dot under the samples turns white. The second sample sub page contains additional layer parameters and also displays each layer's sample assignments in a more compact fashion on the left hand side. The parameter that controls the volume of each layer is the level parameter. which is found in the second to last column of this page. There's a few ways that we can change the level value. Firstly, we can single tap the parameter and turn the data wheel. Secondly, we can double tap it to bring up an enlarged version of the dial and use our finger to change the value. However, we can also use the Q links. As I mentioned before, Q links are dynamically mapped to different MPC parameters depending on which screen you are currently navigating. In the MPC X, you can see the current assignments by looking at the OLED display above each dial. In all the other MPCs, we can get a quick overview by holding down the Q-Link button. Alright, so here's what it looks like in the Program Edit Samples 2 page. With the default screen option set. As you can see, Q-Link column 3 is mapped to level column for each layer. Okay, gotcha. Nice. Whoops. On the MPC X, this relates to the third column of Q-Link dials. Right. However, as the MPC Live or 1 only has a single column of physical Q-Link dials, the third column is accessed by pressing the Q-Link button until you should also see an orange perimeter appear around the layers, indicating your dials are mapped to these parameters. You can also view this orange perimeter in the normal sample screen. Here's what it looks like with the third Q-Link LED selected. And if you have the Q-Link status option enabled, touching any Q-Link will display the Q-Link pop-out. Okay, I don't think this is for the X though, what they're showing here. Oh, interesting, okay. I'm just going to take a look at that again. Yeah, they're talking about the MPC Live and 1. So if you have one of those, that for you, you'll see something appear on the side when you have the Q-Link status option enabled. So to adjust the level value for layer 2, we select the third column Q-Links and turn the second Q-Link dial from the top. We can also refer to the Q-Links by their number. Now, Akai don't specifically label the Q-Links by their number in most software screens, nor in the hardware itself. But later in the book, we'll use the Q-Link edit page, where we find that each Q-Link dial doesn't actually have a specific number assigned to it. As you can see, the numbering should be easy to remember, as it follows the same numbering as the pads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This is Q-Link 16, and that's the number 1 down there. Alright, just the same way the pads go. Boom, boom, boom. So using the Q-Link numbering system, the level value for layer 2, third column, second link from the top relates to Q11. So turn Q11 anti-clockwise until the level for layer 2 reads 0. Okay. This will completely mute A02, and while you do so, begin to increase the level value on layer 2 so the clap sound is gradually introduced. Sounds the same. Why is that? I don't get it. Okay, well, I understand what they're trying to say. Maybe my ear just doesn't pick it up, but I know what they're trying to show there. I think you do too. It'll gradually introduce the sound so you can hear at what point you want to put the level at whenever you find the sound that you really want. So you stop when you reach a point where you have a nice balance, where the snare has gained a bit of extra body from the layered clap. I set the level on layer 2 to 37. Okay. Changing the pitch of a drum layer. Alright. So I'm just going to take a sip of water. Welcome, welcome anybody who's here today. As you can see, I've upgraded a bit. I've got myself a second camera so you can actually see my face. Hello. Now, I'm just going to jump in the chat for a second just to throw something in there again. My app seems to be frozen. Let me jump back into Twitch on my phone and see if I can get back into the chat. Alright, thank you for tuning in. Anyone who's here and checking it out for the first time, what we're doing is we're taking a look at the MPC X and how it works, and we're just going through the MPC X Bible. I'm reading it pretty much verbatim from the MPC X Bible. If you have the MPC X Bible, please load up the files, the tutorial files. We're on chapter 6. We're doing drum layering today, so I'm just going to get right back into it here. Pull up my chair. Alright. Changing the pitch of a drum layer. We can also adjust the pitch or tuning for each layer independently. Tuning is the same as the pitch control slider you find on a turntable. If you increase the tuning, your sample speeds up and raises its pitch. If you tune down using negative numbers, your sample will slow down and drop in pitch. Tuning can change the tonal character of a drum sound. While on musical samples, it changes the key or pitch of the note being played. Tuning is controlled using column 1 semi and column 2 fine. To make large changes to the tuning of the clap sample layer, we change the semi parameter, column 1, which on layer 2 is controlled by Q9. The second from the top Q-link dial in Q-link column 1. Turn Q9 anti-clockwise, and while you do, keep previewing A02 by continually tapping the pad. I don't really understand why the sound really doesn't seem to be affected when I do that. Or maybe my ear isn't good. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but snare 1, classic clap, snare 1, clap. What? Oh. Okay, let's go back to program edit then. Why did it sound like it was affected all of a sudden? Jeez. I'm having a hard time following along here, but it seems like why is it on pad bank C? Like, shouldn't this... Why is it all the same sample, different notes? Alright. I'm trying to figure out what they're explaining here. Like if I'm on here and I go to program edit, layer 1, CP snare 1, layer 2 classic clap, and then we go to here. I feel like it's not being affected as I move it. Why is the program CP snare 1? That's probably what the problem is here. It should be a shadow kit as the program, no? If I go back to main mode, key group, program. Oh, that's why. I'm not in the shadow kit. Okay, that's why. So if I go back now to program edit, I see there. Now it affects the sound. Okay. Very cool. Okay, now I'm starting to understand what was going on there. So they had set the level to 37. I'm going to set it to 0 and try what they did earlier. Okay. Now, so turn it anti-clockwise while previewing A02 by continually tapping the pad. You'll hear the clap element becomes deeper and darker the lower you drop the pitch down into negative numbers. So we set the semi to a -8 there. You can also fine tune by adjusting the fine parameter via Q10 to this value goes from -99 to 99. And this simply allows you to set a fractional tuning. For example, a semi of 8 combined with a fine of 50 equals an overall tuning of 8.5. A semi of 8 combined with a fine of -50 equals an overall tuning of 7.5. Set a fine value on layer 2 to -50. I can't get it directly on the -50. There we go. There we go. All right. Just want to say hello to all the viewers. Thank you for joining today. Once you've been in the chat for 10 minutes, in the stream for 10 minutes, please jump in the chat and chat with the other viewers. Please engage, ask questions, or give me any comments. It's all welcome here. If you know anybody with an MPC X or an MPC, let them know every day from 10 to 11. We're right here on the MPC, streaming on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter or X. And we're just going to get right back into it here. So we're creating a dragging clap sound now. Let's add a standalone clap to our kit. I'm going to use the same clap that we used as the second layer for a snare on pad A02, as this will help the sounds in the kit all sit nicely together. Hit pad A06, which is currently unused, and assign the classic clap sample to both layer 1 and layer 2. If you have a listen, you'll hear that this clap is pretty loud and a bit phased. Generally, it's a bit pointless layering the same sound on top of itself, but in this example, it will work really well, as we're going to offset the layers from each other. Layer offset allows us to delay the playback of the sample currently assigned to a layer. So when you hit the pad, that layer will not play back immediately. Offset parameters are found in the third samples page. So press the samples button again, and the third dot underneath the button turns white. Okay. What we want to do now is to offset just one of the layers so it comes in a little later compared to the other layer. To do this, tap the offset parameter for layer 2. And start turning the data wheel anti-clockwise so the offset value is becoming increasingly negative. Alternatively, use Q10, the second Q link from the top of Q link column 2. You can also enter a numerical At lower negative values, like minus 100, the two layers are just phasing. However, as you reach minus 1200 or greater, the phasing is gone, and now we are instead getting a different type of sound, good to your ears. I set mine to minus 1800. Alright. Remember, if you're setting values with the dials, hold down the shift button to allow for finer adjustments. Okay. Alright. Using the same sound on multiple pads, as you can see, you are free to place the same sample on multiple pads and even on multiple layers. Each instance of that sample acts completely independently to the other instances. Creating stereo width. The classic clap sample is a mono single channel sample, but we can make the entire pad even more dynamic sounding by transforming it from mono to stereo. Stereo versus mono. A true stereo signal contains two channels of audio, left and right, and gives the listener the benefit of panned sounds, where certain sounds appear to emanate more from either the left or right speakers. Headphones will exaggerate this effect in stereo, so a stereo signal is a way of emulating this. The left and right channels in a stereo signal will always be different. A complete song will normally be in full stereo, as will most drum loops. A mono signal is only one channel, and hence will have no panning information. A mono sample will be heard out of both left and right speakers, but the signal in each speaker will be identical. Okay, so let's go back to the samples 2 page. To do this from the current samples 3 page, either tap the samples button 3 times, or you can hold down the shift and tap samples once. It goes backwards. Okay, I gotcha. The shift button means you'll move through the subscreens in a reverse order. Nice. Didn't know that. The fourth column on the Samples 2 screen controls the panning for each individual sample layer on your pad. Panning controls how much of the outputted sound from your layer is sent to the left and right outputs of your MPC. With the pan controls at the default 0, the output from that layer is sent in equal amounts to the left and right outputs. Hi Andrew. Yeah, cool. Thanks for tuning in again. Glad you're here. Just continuing on from where we left off. We're just basically doing drum layering today. So it's something that I knew about, but I didn't really this before. So today's the first time I'm really getting in-depth knowledge on how to do this. So maybe a little bit slow, but we're all learning together, so that's the important part. All right, let's go back to where I was here. So the fourth column on the Samples 2 screen controls the panning for each individual sample layer on your pad. Panning controls how much of the outputted sound from your layer is sent to the left and right outputs of your MPC. With the pan controls at the default 0, the output from that layer is sent in equal amounts to the left and right outputs. Turn the Q16, the top Q link in column 4, anti-clockwise until the pan setting for layer 1 reads -25. This has set the top layer to a left pan of 25. Now start turning Q12, the second Q-link in Q-link column 4 clockwise to gradually start panning the clap on layer 2 to the right hand side. As you do this, keep hitting pad A06 to magically hear how the clap sounds wider. Set the pan for layer 2 to read 25. A right pan of +25. Alright. Normally, just panning the same sample to opposite sides doesn't really make a convincing stereo emulation, but as we've applied an offset to one layer, this helps differentiate the two channels and produce a more convincing stereo effect. To increase the effect even further, you could try turning one of the layers very slightly differently to the other. Creating a deeper, crunchier kick. Preview the kick on pad A01. Let's face it, it's fairly wimpy. But drum layering will give us the opportunity to create something much fatter and, most importantly, a completely unique, never heard before kick sound. Firstly, let's tune this kick down a little. In the Samples 2 screen, in the Samples 2 screen, take the semi value for layer 1 down to -6. Preview the result. The kick already sounds more mean and gritty. Now how about some more bottom end? Not a problem. In layer 2, select the sub-kick sample. And preview the resulting drum layer. Wow. Dope. That's given our kick a huge amount of 808 sub bass, although perhaps it needs a little bit of taming so the kick sits more comfortably with the rest of the kit. Let's get acquainted with the drum program's envelopes. Shaping your sounds with the amp envelope. Alright. I've never done this. So, envelopes. I'm on the envelopes button. Okay. Upon entering the envelopes screen, you might have noticed that the envelopes button has changed to read ENV AMP. This tells us we are on the envelope screen specifically for the amplitude envelope, also known as the volume shaping envelope. The amp envelope settings allow us to literally reshape the way our pad actually sounds over time. Here we're just going to take a look at the default amp envelope configuration AD, which is modeled on the traditional legacy MPC amplitude envelope. The AD amp envelope consists of two distinct elements. Attack and decay. Attack refers to the shape of the sound at the beginning of your sample. Attack is a measure of how sharp or peaked the initial sound of your sample is. It basically allows us to fade in the beginning of a sound, while decay controls how your sound fades out at its end. Okay. An envelope is a non-destructive way of shaping the sound of a pad. It doesn't actually make any permanent changes though. It just sits on top of the audio and temporarily reshapes it. To tame that really long sub-bass element of our the decay portion of the envelope. You can adjust the decay value with the second Q-link from the top. Q-link bank column 2. Or by tapping on the decay parameter and turning the data wheel. However, my favorite way is to directly manipulate the graphical amp envelope curve. This is handy as it helps you visualize how you are shaping the sound. If you wish, you can tap on the expand icon to give you a more optimized display of the envelope. So what's the expand? The expand icon. What's the expand icon? Is it that? No. Oh, right here. Boom. Okay. Cool. I never saw this screen before. So you can expand it out to get a much better view. Drag the D icon on the envelope display from right to left, while simultaneously hitting pad A01. You won't hear much change until you get to a decay of around a decay of 70. Okay, I'm at decay 76. Okay, I got you. I did hear a difference right before that. So at this point, the sub-bass tail is starting to fade out earlier. Try increasing it a little more until you get a natural sounding, more compact decay. I found 81 worked really well. I stopped at 76, but let's do the 81. Cool. Take a look at the envelope display now, and you can see a visual representation of how the decay is fading our sample. Hear how the kick sounds shorter and tighter? Now look at the decay from type. The default is end. Decay from end, but start and decay from start by touching the start button. Now the decay envelope acts on our sample from a much earlier point in the waveform, creating a more aggressive and tighter sounding kick. You can also control the shape of path that the decay will take as it reaches the end of the sample, the D shape. By default, this is set to -25. And by changing this value, you can completely change the slope of the decay curve. Oh, the D shape, I see. Wow, okay. And you can even bubble it out. Okay, gotcha. Rad. Increasing D shape will bring it back a bit more, bring back a bit more of the sub-bass element. While reducing the D shape will tighten up the overall sound of the kick. Both these options will not reduce or increase the overall length of the kick sound. They just let us control the path the fade out takes. The D shape can be controlled by dragging the red dot on the screen, or by taping the D shape parameter and using the data wheel. Oh, tapping. They meant tapping, not taping. By taping. They meant by tapping the D shape parameter and using the data wheel. I set the D shape to -19. As it stands, the kick is still sounding fairly dry, just like the rest of the sounds in our kit, but still retains that deep bottom end with a touch of 808 boom. I like it. It's important to note that the envelope settings will change the sound of your entire pad. They cannot be used on individual sample layers, although we'll learn how to work around this limitation in a more advanced tutorial later on. So, adding vinyl crackle with simultaneous play. Layering can be used to give your kit a more vinyl sounding flavor by layering some vinyl crackle on top of the sounds. Now, to add a layer of vinyl crackle to a pad, we can of course just add a vinyl crackle sample to one of the empty layers. However, the MPC software has an additional layering option that provides us with a bit more flexibility. Simultaneous play allows us to trigger, and therefore play back, multiple pads with a single pad hit. So Using this method, we can effectively layer together entire pads. So instead of placing our vinyl crackle on a spare pad layer, we simply place the crackle sample on its own dedicated pad and use simultaneous play to trigger it whenever another pad is struck. Using this method, we can configure our vinyl crackle any way we wish and then layer it simultaneously with any pads we choose. First, let's set up a pad with some vinyl crackle. Hit pad A16 to select it, and in the sample screen, assign the vinyl crackle 1 sample. To layer 1. Hit pad A16 to hear how the crackle sounds. Now, select pad A01 and go to the global screen. The simultaneous play option is simple to use. On the simultaneous play column, change the first value from off to A16. Now trigger A01 again, and you'll hear both the kick and the vinyl crackle play back simultaneously. If you can't hear it and it's too subtle, just use some headphones, turn it up a little, you'll be able to hear it. So all that is happening whenever the pad A01 is played. It simultaneously triggers pad A16 as well. Let's add vinyl crackle to all our pads. Hit the Edit Zones icon at the top of the screen. Okay, that's what I tapped by accident earlier. I didn't know what that did. This brings up the Edit Zones page. Now select Multiple. Tap the pads containing drum sounds. You can skip A01 as you already set this. So we're going to do A02, A03, A04, and A06. This will select all your pads so they can be edited equally together. Selected pads will show in red. To deselect a pad, just hit it a second time. Press close and hit pad A02. Set simultaneous play for A02 to A16. Now hit any of the other selected pads and you'll see that as multiple was selected, all those other pads now have the A16 added. If you were to change any other program parameter on any of these pads, it would also be set identically on all those pads. Play your drums and you'll hear they all have crackle playing with them. However, it's always the exact same crackle every time, which doesn't sound particularly natural. Problem, let's get random. Caution, before proceeding any further, go back to the Edit Zones. How was I in there? Page, and set it back to current. Okay. Edit zones. Where was I with the edit zones? Edit zones? Edit zones? I guess just hitting that. Okay. And set it to current. Alright. This will set the MPC back to standard editing mode. Alright. Well, I think we're almost done for today. I'll just go through this quick little thing before we go. Edit Zones Shift shortcut. Another way to select multiple pads is hold down Shift and touch all the pads you wish to edit together. But you'll still need to return to the Edit Zones page to return to the standard current mode. You can also select all pads in a program by selecting all in the Edit Zones page. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I'll just turn on some outro music for you. And we'll continue on tomorrow from 10 to 11. We'll start tomorrow with varying the vinyl crackle with round robins. I don't know what that means, but we'll learn tomorrow together. So for now, I'll just put on the beat that I made last Sunday on the Twitch stream, and we can just jam to this for a minute while we say our goodbyes. Glad you all could make it. I'm just gonna jump in the chat for a minute. Showing up. I got myself a LED LCD camera today, so glad you can see my face finally, who's speaking to you. And I hope you tune in again tomorrow, 10 to 11. We'll be doing the exact same thing, just continuing on from where we were. Any new people, please tell your friends, invite your friends that have MPCs to check it out. We're just going through the MPC X Bible and all learning together. Let's create a community and help each other out, alright? So if you can, please support the page as much as you can. Any tips or donations or whatever, bits and all that. It's all appreciated. It helps to go to fund the channel and help it grow and become a much more professional environment for you to watch. So I appreciate everything you can do. And with that, I'll leave it for today. And hope you had a good time. Peace out.